Hello, it's so lovely to see you again, and thank you for stopping by. Today, as you will notice if you're watching, if you haven't closed your eyes already, we'll be looking into the collection of cups and mugs and cups, drinking implements for your hot beverages that I have in my house. Of course, you don't have to drink only hot beverages with these, so I'm just going to be going through the little collection I have, because some of them have interesting stories, some of them less so, but I still think it would be nice to show you the sort of things I've got. So let's get underway, shall we? Pondering Tales. So the first thing I should point out is I've tried to separate them out into columns in terms of their appearance and structure, and I've tried to sort of label them cups and mugs. So on the front row here we've got what I would call cups, apart from maybe this chap. This chap's possibly more of a mug, but I don't know, possibly because of the handle and the structure of it, but it just turned out that I needed to have another one to put in the front, so I thought I'd put that one there. We'll start with this one. Got this cup from, actually inherited this when I moved into my flat when I first moved to Peterborough, which is a place I lived post-university. This was one of the cups that was left behind in the flat. I think it's originally from Whittard's, which is it's a UK-based sort of tea shop, but they do really gorgeous crockery and all sorts of hot chocolates, teas, coffees, cups, plates, that sort of thing. So as I was saying, I've sort of separated them out into rows in terms of what I think of their title or status in the cup or mug world. So front row, it's cups. Second row, I've put what I think are more mug-like drinking implements. And at the back we've got the big boys at the back. So what I'll do with each of them is just go through them in a sort of order and explain a couple of the origins of where they came from, and tap on them, and hopefully this will make a nice ASMR video for you. So where shall we start? So let's just go one by one through the different cups and mugs we've got, starting with the first row. Which one should we start with then? Let's start on the right, over here. So over here, this is a rather nice beach hut scene, and it's from a supermarket in the home section. You get a lot of really nice homeware, mugs, cups, crockery, kitchenware in supermarkets. I think they're criminally underrated actually in terms of their quality. I would call this a cup, but I don't know. I'm not a cup or mug expert, but this is a really, really nice one in terms of its design. You've got 4 beach huts with some seagulls. It's a nice sort of coastal scene. I do like really nice artwork on cups. We actually, as a household, have way too many cups, and what I've done is this was actually a set of of 4, I think. Or maybe I'm going mad, maybe this is just the one, I can't find the other ones. In case of some of the other cups, I've only got one example of them because there's no point in me repeating it. But anyway, this is the first cup. Second one is this was a present, and immediately you can tell the difference in terms of its sound when I'm tapping it with my nails that are way too long. This is an image of some clergy, priests, bishop and the like, and a couple of choristers. And this is fine bone china, which would explain the slightly different sound. It's thinner, obviously. And this is Alison Gardiner. This cup. I just love the design of the people on here. It's really lovely artwork. Read and write, read and write, read and write. The Ladybird Keywords Reading Scheme. So this is a Ladybird cup, and it's a little bit personal because it's got the writing Peter writes, Peter likes to write. Now you may be thinking that this was given to me quite an early age. It actually wasn't. I think this was, well, actually the bottom of the cup says 2008, 2009, so it's likely that this was given to me as a late sort of ironic present because I've got an interest in English, and I did a degree in linguistics and English language, so I've got quite a few language-based gifts. I think this was from my parents. Peter writes, Peter likes to write. Some of that's true. Now immediately I'm reminded of a mishap I had with this cup. It's got a gold rim to it, and you shouldn't put gold-rimmed cups or other items in the microwave, because what tends to happen is you get a sort of mini fireworks show in your microwave, and you sort of, it's like the end of Return of the Jedi, it's sort of lightning all over the place. So I hastily stopped the microwave when I was heating up whatever I was heating up, and there's an ever so slight a couple of marks on the rim of this cup where you can see it was affected, it was traumatized in the microwave. This cup was a gift to me when I worked at Gloucester Cathedral when I was 18, 19 years old, and actually it comes from the Beatrix Potter shop. Beatrix Potter, obviously the author of Peter Rabbit and other famous characters. Now, I lived in a house in Gloucester which was directly next door to this museum of Beatrix Potter, and it's really great if you're a fan of those stories and of the author, because it's got all sorts of lovely merchandise, cards, books, toys, games, lovely ornaments and things. And I think it's supposed to be the tailor's shop in the Tailor of Gloucester. there was an animated film which came from the illustrated book of the Tailor of Gloucester. Lovely story, and in the film, and I think even in the book, it depicts this house, and it's quite interesting that the house I lived in as a sort of gap year student is on this film and is on this cup. So that's a reminder of my my gap year some years ago. We've already talked about this chappie, but I'll just tap him again just so he doesn't feel left out. Now, about a year or so ago, I had this thing, a slight obsession for walled cups, glass transparent cups. I bought a friend of mine some, I think, whiskey glasses or similar cups to this, and I just love the fact that you can see the liquid. You know, it doesn't take much to impress me, but you can see the liquid within the walls of the cup. And I think it's even more special when you have interesting looking liquids in there, or if you happen to be a skilled barista and you've made a coffee with lots of layers. But I haven't done that yet. I did briefly work as a barista, but that was, it didn't last very long. Not that I was bad, but I moved on to pastures new, and actually I'm terrified of customers, so that wasn't a great combination. Now this actually belongs to my girlfriend, and it's got a lovely sound to it when you tap it. M&S, Marks and Spencer. We've got some really high quality stuff here. M&S. Really nice floral design on this one. I think it's floral. Looking at it further, I'm not entirely sure if it is floral. It's got lots of lovely strokes, different colours, the sort of colours you might find in a floral scene, or perhaps if you were just testing out lots of samples on your wall before you paint it. Now this has got quite a nice foot on the bottom, and a sort of bowl, sort of sloping, smooth shape. It's lovely. This one has the name Jalsagor on it, and Jalsagor is an Indian restaurant in the town where I live. And when this Indian restaurant opened, gosh, quite some years ago now, I think they gave out some cups as gifts, so I think I inherited this from that, and I've had it probably the longest. There are quite a few cups and mugs I've had much longer than all the others, because when I left home to go on my gap year, and then university, I had a few mugs and cups that I took with me then, so a lot of these have a lot of history behind them, and it's not often that we think about our past and our history with cups, and I'm a bit of a sentimental and sensitive person, so when things break, like cups and mugs, which might happen if I keep doing this, you sort of, I feel you've sort of lost a bit of history and a bit of yourself, but I'm a bit soppy like that. Yeah, so this is bone china, Jalsagor, which is still going, and interestingly, opposite that restaurant there's another Indian restaurant, And so obviously that's a bit of a competition, but we're not talking about curry in this video. That may be another video, who knows. I'm not sure I'm going to venture into mukbang anytime soon. So moving on to our second row, Let's start from the left this time. Let's start from the left. Again, I've nicked this. Oh, that's a nice sound. I've nicked this from my girlfriend. I don't think she'll mind. Again, now this is china, but it's got more of a mug feel to me than a cup. Of course, you'll let me know in the comments exactly what a cup and a mug is and the differentiation, distinction. So there are some multicoloured dragonflies on this one. And it's a really good cup, mug, whatever, to hold. The handle works really well, as you would hope, but it's nice and sturdy, and it's got dragonflies up the handle as well as around the side. I find these, from a really boring perspective, these sort of cups are really quite difficult to clean. They get stained quite easily. Interesting bit of sound physics, obviously, when you're clutching it. The sound deadens. Again, this is one from my girlfriend, who comes from a multitude of places, but most recently from Peterborough, where we met, and I was working in Peterborough for 3.5 years, and so this is a suitably themed Peterborough mug, based off the idea, a few years ago when everybody was telling each other to keep calm and carry on. Well, this is keep calm and come to Peterborough. Keep calm and come to Peterborough. I'm not sure if anybody watching has been to Peterborough or even lives there, but slightly off topic. It's one of these places that you don't tend to hear about very much. I worked there because my job is quite specific, and so I moved there specifically straight after university. And a few people said to me, "Oh, better watch out in Peterborough." I'm not sure how much I can say on YouTube, but for whatever people say about it, I really liked it as a place to live. It's a really nice modern city, I think. It's really clean as well. It's got a lot of great shops, a lot of great bars. I'm a massive fan of pubs and bars. When I went from York, which is where I studied at university, York has got so many pubs. It's got more than enough for anybody, and moving to Peterborough I was a bit disappointed that there weren't many different pubs in the centre, but that changed over the course of my time. Maybe they heard me complaining. This next one is a lovely one, and was from my uncle who lives in the Isle of Wight. So this is Ryde, Pier. Ryde is one of my favourite places, I think, because I loved going when I was a kid. The Isle of Wight in general is great, just for a sort of feeling of it's like you're going to leave for a big journey and adventure, but actually it takes about an hour or so to hop over to the other side, as it were. So this is Ryde Pier. It's a lovely lovely walk to do in the evening. And I'm only really used to being on the Isle of Wight in summer because we used to go on summer holidays quite a lot. So this is a rather nice, cozy mug. This one is from Sainsbury's, which is a supermarket in the UK. I may be stating the obvious to my UK viewers. And again, similarly to the beach huts one, this is a rather lovely artistic image of a beach with some fishing boats and some seagulls and some people off in the distance on the sand and some lovely coastal houses. Seagulls, I think, are only tolerable when they're in this artistic form. One thing I will say about Gloucester, where I lived for a year, is that certainly back when I lived there, which was over 10 years ago now, the streets would be overrun by seagulls, and they weren't just any seagulls, they were huge monstrosities. They're far more innocent in these sorts of scenes. And actually, of course, the beach and the seaside wouldn't be the same without that sort of sound of seagulls. I've had this cup for a while. Obviously my name is Peter, but if I'm being completely honest, I'm not a huge fan of my full name. I'm much more comfortable with the shortening, Pete. So this was, I've had this for quite a while, and it explains the biblical origin of the name, and I think naturally this was part of a series of lots of names from the Bible, and I'll just read to you the inscription. Peter, a biblical name which had become by the 16th century widely used and has been popular ever since. It means the rock and sometimes the roll. The rock and sometimes the roll. Now, I'm not Dwayne Johnson. So again, I've had this for quite a while. Not unusually, when I was at school, in my class, the boys' names were quite interesting because there were a few repetitions, and I think every generation goes through commonly used names. And I was the only Peter in my year at primary school. I think there were obviously more when I got to secondary school. But it's not a very common name, I don't think, for people of my generation. I don't know. Moving on to this one, which I absolutely love this one. Not that I'm being favouritist or anything. From the really rough underside. Really rough underside. To really smooth, glossy finish to the mug itself. I would say this is definitely a mug. This is from Wye Valley. Oh gosh, I can't say the next word. It's like Benedict Cumberbatch with penguins. I struggle to say the word brewery, where beer and other substances are brewed. Wye Valley Brewery. Wye Valley Brewery. Wye Valley Brewery. Do you have words you just can't ever say? I have that with this one, which is quite an awkward one because I do quite like beer and pubs. So I tend to avoid saying the word. You could actually have anything in this. You could probably try drinking some beer in it and feel properly medieval. So this is a sort of white and black sort of gradient fading of colour. Really nice ornate handle. Bit of a ridge going on with this handle. I realise I've not been tapping some of them as much as I should have been. So the Wye Valley is where, well, I live near the Wye Valley, and hence the brewery. I'm trying to put these down gently. Free Dobby. Free Dobby. My cousin got me this a couple of years ago. Any Harry Potter fans will know exactly what this refers to. So you've got the character of Dobby emblazoned on the side of this, with the words "Free Dobby," which you can tend to do with a gift of clothing, but of course he's free. We don't need to free him. Of course, those who know that Dobby is free, but if you're reading the books and you haven't got very far, then this will be relevant. So I'm a Harry Potter fan, as is the girlfriend, and between us we've got quite a few bits of Harry Potter merchandise. Probably not as much as I would like, actually. Might have to rectify that. This is another one of those mugs that has a lot of relevance for me, because I think I got this can't remember which shop it was in, but I've had this since university. So it was one of the mugs I took with me, and I've had it ever since. And I think back when I was in university I had this one, the Jalsagor, I think it was those two actually, perhaps. Must have had a third one. And obviously what happens over the years is they gradually build up, and because I'm really careful, I don't tend to break many things, so we just keep getting loads and loads. The cupboard is just absolutely overflowing with cups and mugs. I do like this one. Again, it reminds me of times gone by, but it's got a really nice colour to it. It's sort of light brown with a sort of a rim and interior of much darker brown. And it's nice and smooth, glossy. And it reminds me of lots of things. Even though I think it only cost a couple of quid in a shop, but it's not the money, is it? It's the experience, the adventures. So this one is another one of my girlfriend's, and it has a sort of, if you look really closely, I mean, you won't perhaps be able to see it on this version of the video, but you can see the little dots, the tiny, tiny little dots that make up these patterns, these sort of jagged zigzag lines. And actually, there could be a lot more to this design that I'm aware of, but I've never asked my girlfriend about it. It's not the sort of thing I've thought about asking, but kind of reminds me of waves, but also, you know, those tests when you look at an ink blot but in a more cup-like way. And that's the end of the second row. So the final row, it really is the guys and the girls that are really big or unusually shaped. So we'll start with this, which is a Starbucks cup. I think it's probably a Christmas theme because of the candy cane handle. I think I remember this is this came from a gift set. I think it was sort of Christmas hot chocolate or something, or Christmas coffee that came with this. Sad to say, I don't use it that often. We don't use it that often. Nothing against Starbucks, but I don't know. I think after this video I might use it a bit more. I think because it's in a slightly awkward place as well in the kitchen, so it just tends to get sort of left behind. We don't really have many other sort of seasonal themed cups or mugs or cups or mugs. Cups. But I think we shall use this more often. This bad boy is another one from Whittard. Sadly, I had two of these, but I've only got one now because I left the second one in Peterborough, where I worked about 4 years ago in the office. So they will have benefited from me leaving that there. But it's just one of those things, you know, when you leave some places of work, you keep contact with everybody still, and you know, I'm more than happy that I actually left a bit of me over there. I also left some shoes behind. Anyway, I won't go into the details of that. This is a really great mug. As you can see, it's pretty tall. I've had this with, I've used this for hot chocolates mainly. And you know, sometimes when you just really, really want a big, long cup of tea, and this is the exact sort of cup mug you should be using. There were a couple of times, I don't know if you've ever been in situations where you're feeling ever so slightly worse for wear after a night out or something, and you just have a craving for sugar, salty things, whatever, depending on how damaged you are. And occasionally I would have this absolute massive craving for Earl Grey tea, and I'd stick 2 bags in this, and it would go woo, all the way up to the top, and it was delicious. But perhaps I'll do another hangover cure video at some point soon. This is another one from the girlfriend's collection. This is definitely floral this time. These are roses. Roses. And this is a really nice size, but it's ever so slightly bigger than I think the mugs that we've got on this middle row. So that's why I've put it at the back. Sometimes you just need to have a big mug of something. And it's said that we are a nation of tea drinkers over here. But actually I know plenty of people that don't like tea, or people that have tea in slightly different ways. I've known people that just have black tea. I think that's becoming more common these days, and also one shouldn't assume all the time that everybody's tea drinking habits are the same. When I was a kid, I think my first experience of tea, I would have sugar to sort of make it a bit more, I don't know, just a bit nicer, and then I sort of graduated to not have sugar, I think after a year or so, and I haven't got back since. I mean, I wouldn't mind if I had sugar in my tea, but tend not to. Then we've got this classic, one of my favourites here. So my girlfriend's parents bought us a pair of these when I joined the family on their Welsh holiday last year. Well, as much holiday as we could have done with the restrictions. And this one is just, it's an unbelievably well made mug. This is a definite mug. It's got smooth areas, it's got a rough sort of rim just before you reach the lip, which curves upwards. It's marvellous. Again, I'll put a link in the description about where I got this, and the link to the Pottery in Wales, because the shop has all sorts of wonderful things there. This is actually, on a perhaps rather cute note, these are our weekend mugs. We'll often have a beverage on a Saturday morning in these. You sort of know it's the weekend when you see one of these. You can fit an awful lot in here. Gosh, this has a completely different sound to everything else. This is the biscuit pocket mug. You put your biscuit in here. I imagine it would have to be a digestive biscuit or a ginger nut or a similar circular or flat biscuit, or a Jaffa cake or something. But then I'd be opening up the debate about whether a Jaffa cake is a biscuit or something else. Admittedly, I've not really used this. It's not exactly awkward. Well, it is a bit awkward to drink from because it's that kind of odd shape. But it's still nice to have. And actually doing this video has made me really appreciate the sort of the variety that we have here. But I think there was a train in the background there. But sadly we don't have any biscuits that are that size at the moment. This penultimate mug was a Secret Santa present. I think it was the year actually when I took part in Movember, raising money for prostate cancer by growing a feeble moustache. As a blonde man, I struggled because my facial hair doesn't grow that quickly. Well, it grows relatively quickly, but I think for a month, for you to then have something to show, I didn't have a huge amount. But the thing is, it's about taking part. So it was that year when it was the first year I had done that, and one of my colleagues got me a Secret Santa, which was this moustache mug, and it gives you a lot of different styles of moustache. You've got the pencil, the Franz Josef, the zapper, the toothbrush, the handlebar, the horseshoe, the walrus, the Dali, the Coptash, the Groucho, the Fu Manchu, the Gringo. And it's also got a thing that says instant moustache for those unable to cultivate facial hair, and it's obviously shaped like a moustache. So really, really excellent design, but it's also a pretty meaty mug. It feels, well, it's a really nice handle. The way the moustache is shaped, it's a really comfortable way to hold it. And now finally, the final big boy is this, is my girlfriend's again, and it's a literature-based mug. It's got all sorts of quotes from famous books that are emblazoned on here. You can feel the texture where they're printed. And this is a wide, it's possibly one of the widest mugs that we have. The Unemployed Philosophers Guild. Oh yes, and it's simply called First Lines of Literature. That's what it is. It's First Lines of Literature. In my younger and more vulnerable years, my father gave me some advice that I've been turning over in my mind ever since. Marley was dead to begin with. Call me Ishmael. Happy families are all alike. Every unhappy family is unhappy in its own way. It is a truth universally acknowledged that a single man in possession of a good fortune must be in want of a wife. I'm sure many of you will know what these quotes are from. Leave a comment. And I think I will love you and leave you today with all of these cups and mugs that I'll now need to put away. So thank you ever so much for joining me, and if you have enjoyed this, do leave me a comment, perhaps letting me know what your favourite one was, or if you'd like me to bring out some mugs in other videos, do let me know. And if you're new and you'd like to see some more, please do subscribe. That would be really, truly wonderful. Thank you again for watching, and I will see you very soon.